Welcome everyone to my first video in a new series that I'm making for you. By now you know that I love interacting with you, and I'm not just here to make awesome videos about voice, but I also want to build a community of people that get really excited about singing. So these videos are going to be in a question and answer format, where I get to more thoroughly respond to some of the questions you've asked. I'm going to start with some shorter answers and then deep dive into a more complex topic. First question. This week's first question comes from Sean. Question mark. 5 question marks. Sean, with the last name of 5 question marks, asks, do you think anyone can learn to sing? I think that almost anyone can learn to sing. The one exception would be if somebody is truly tone deaf, which is very rare. If a person is truly tone deaf, they can't tell that they're not singing on pitch. They might think that they're singing really well, and other people would tell them, no, you're really not. And you might not be able to speak up at the end of a sentence or go down at the end of a sentence if you're truly tone deaf as well. So if you have influence over where your speaking voice goes, and you know that you're not singing great, then you're not tone deaf and you can learn to sing. Rhythm can also be taught if you have a heartbeat, you have a natural rhythm in your body, and you can learn how to use rhythm in music as well. Our next question comes from FPS70. Do opera singers use nasal resonance for high notes? Yes, most definitely. In fact, all singers are going to use some nasal resonance, but don't confuse that with nasality. Nasal resonance means that you are having sympathetic vibrations in this area of your face. Some people call it the mask. And that creates a more beautiful tone quality and maybe a little more volume as well. Nasality is when you drop your soft palate and the air and the sound go through your nose. So it might sound something more like this. And a really easy way to check is you can plug your nose while singing a note. So go, ooh. If it doesn't change, you're good. If you drop your soft palate, ooh, it feels weird and it changes. And then you have nasality in your tone. Our next question was asked by a different Sean Daniel, and he asks, what's the coolest venue you've performed at? So there are really 2 ways to answer this question, and I'm going to give you both. My favorite professional performance venue is the Opera Theater of St. Louis. They have what's called a thrust stage, which goes out into the audience so that the audience isn't just in front, they're actually on 3 sides, so both the left and right of the stage. It's so awesome. They're right there with the performers. I mean, if you hit a really extra hard consonant, you might spit on someone. I know, gross. But also, you can see them laugh and cry, and you can react off of their energy so much more than in a really huge opera house where you can't see the faces because they're so far away. So I loved singing at the Opera Theater of St. Louis. And my second coolest venue, literally the coolest, was an impromptu performance that I did at the base camp of Mount Everest. This is when I was spending a semester in China. I know, it sounds ridiculous. But I was there and we went on a tour to Tibet and went to the base camp of Mount Everest. And I couldn't resist singing. I mean, I was looking at Mount Everest in the moonlight, and I think I sang some songs from The Sound of Music, Probably Climb Every Mountain, and some Chinese songs that I was working on at the time. It was just inspiring. And yes, altitude is harder to sing in, but I had to do it. So I did. And that brings us to our deep dive topic for today, which is whistle register. A bunch of you wanted to know about whistle, and I'm honestly not surprised. It's a little bit mysterious. Jean D'Souza asked, how does a singer hit a whistle note? And Nikos Manolis wanted to know, can you blend a whistle register with a head voice register? Whistle register is the least researched vocal register, and that's probably because it's not used very much. But here's a few examples. Now let's talk about the physiology. Remember that there are 5 vocal registers. From lowest to highest, you have vocal fry, then chest voice, head voice, and falsetto, and then on top you have whistle. Now with the other 4 vocal registers, it uses the entire length of the vocal folds to create a pitch. But for whistle, you only use about half of the vocal folds to create the pitch. The other half is closed. But we can't really see more than that because the epiglottis gets in the way. Check out this picture. It was taken by a camera that was in someone's throat during a process commonly called getting scoped. I've been through this procedure personally many times, and most professional singers get scoped fairly often because it's one of the only ways to get a visual checkup of your vocal cords. If you thought that getting tested for coronavirus was bad, try having a wire camera jammed so far up your nose that it starts to go down your throat. And it keeps on going down until you start to choke, then backs off just the tiniest little fraction, and then you have to sing. It always ends with gagging and tears, but it's a necessary procedure for professional singers. Back to your larynx. These are your vocal folds. To create a pitch, they smack together very quickly as air goes past, which creates a vibration in the air, and that hits our eardrums, and we recognize it as a note. Remember that for the other 4 vocal registers, the whole length of your vocal cords are vibrating, and in whistle, only about half of them are vibrating and the other half is closed. This chunk of flesh right here, that's the epiglottis, and that's what gets in the way when you're singing in whistle register. Now, some people say that it's useful for creating a smaller space so you can sing higher, but we really need to do more research and get better cameras to find out. And while everyone is physically capable of producing whistle register, not everyone will be able to find it. Some people can instinctually find it, like little girls who scream really high. That's usually whistle. But a lot of mega pros don't even need to touch whistle. And then there's some people who've been studying voice for 20 years, and all you need to do is shift a vowel a little bit, and suddenly they'll be singing in whistle. So I'm going to give you a couple of tips for how to find your whistle register. First off, don't feel like you have to sing to access whistle. You can just try making some high noises, like try imitating a puppy. That sound is whistle. Or you could try sounding like a squeaky door. Once you've made the sound, just try to sustain it a little bit longer, and then you're singing. Next, don't try to sing too loud. For a lot of people, it's easier to sing high notes if they sing louder, but that is not the case with whistle. This is a small and a thin sound. If you try to sing too loud, you'll end up going into a lower vocal register. And also, try different vowels. Oo tends to work very well for females, or E. But you should also try ah. Everyone's structure is different, so what works best for another person might not work as well for you. And now to answer your question about whistle being mixed with head voice. To date, I don't think I've heard anyone successfully mix the two. And I think that might be because the other full vocal registers all use the full length of the vocal cords, while whistle only uses half. But we need to do more research to really find out. Thank you for your questions. I hope I've been able to answer a few of them a little bit more fully, and I'll be linking to another whistle register video for more information. Next week, I'm going to be deep diving into mixed voice, so please stay tuned and continue to ask me questions down below. I hope to see you soon.